Hi, it's Krista at the Secret Yarnery. Today we are making a C2C triangle. If English isn't your first language, you can click on this gear on the video and scroll through to find your preferred dialect. And this easy-to-follow step-by-step crochet tutorial is available in both left and right-handed, so please check the description box below to find the version that suits you best. If C2C scares you or you aren't sure how to start, this tutorial is for you, and you are not alone. Lots of people get really stuck and confused starting out our C2C, how to grow it and how to begin it. So I walk you through that step by step and share with you all the tips and tricks so that you'll be able to master this technique and be super confident starting C2C whenever you feel like it. You can use any yarn you have. I just use scraps of nice colors that I liked. It's a just regular size 4 worsted weight acrylic. And I used a 6mm crochet hook with that. And if you want to learn more or decrease into a rectangle, make stripes, or master color changes, check out my Ultimate C2C Masterclass. If you'd like to follow along with a written pattern, all of my patterns are available on my website, secretyarnery.com. And you don't have to worry about being able to read a pattern. All of my patterns are written in plain English, just like I was sitting there right beside you. If you find this tutorial helpful, please subscribe to my channel for more. And here are the timestamps. You can jump right back into where you left off. Let's get started. To start your C2C, we're going to be doing a triangle. So just grab your yarn and whatever hook goes along with that yarn. And we're going to be making a triangle just like this, but we're going to be working on it starting with this one little square at the bottom. So to start, we are going to just make a regular slip knot any which way you normally do, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later, and just pop that onto your crochet hook. So we're going to start with a chain 6. So chain 1, 2, and 3. Pinch, 4, 5, and 6. So we have our chain 6. Wrap your yarn, go into where you're pinching, the 4th chain from your hook. Just go underneath, so you have 2 strands on the top of your hook. And make 1 double crochet. Now into each of the next 2 chains, right here and right there, we're going to make 1 double crochet into each. So wrap your yarn and into the next chain, 1 double crochet. And we're going to go into the next chain. So I just look for these bottom loops. It's this little bottom loop right there, and then just go in so you have 2 strands of that chain on the top of your hook. So wrap your yarn and into that last chain, 1 double crochet. And that finishes row 1. So at the end of our row, we're just going to pop in a stitch marker just into that chain 3 space of our last block. So it's our only block, but we're just going to pop a stitch marker into it. And that finishes row 1, which is this one block right here. Now to start row 2, we're going to do the exact same thing. So we're building one of these blocks. That's how we're going to start every row of our increase, or while we are increasing, we are always going to start with this cute little block right here. So we're going to chain 6 again. So 1, 2, 3, pinch that 3rd chain, 4, 5, and 6. Wrap your yarn and into the chain you're pinching, the 4th chain from your hook. Just go in 2 strands on the top of your hook and make 1 double crochet. Wrap your yarn and into the next chain. So to look at my chains, I've worked into this chain here. There's my double crochet working into that 1st chain. Now here is my 2nd chain. And here is my 3rd. I just look at these bottom loops because that's where I'm going to be putting my hook. So the next stitch is going to be right here. And then the last one is right there. So wrap your yarn and into the next chain, 1 double crochet. Wrap your yarn and into the last chain. It is right here, right on top of that stitch, just right here. So wrap your yarn, 1 double crochet. So each of our blocks is a chain 3 and 3 double crochets. That is our block. So now we have to connect it, and we have to do this after we make the first block every single row. And don't worry if it doesn't make sense right now. It will make sense about row 6. So give yourself time. I'm not leaving you. Just follow what I'm doing. By row 6, you'll get it. So the first block of every row, you're going to flip up our work. So if you're just holding your work, the block you just did, you will have this first block right there, the one with the stitch marker. We're just going to flip it up. So we flip up our work, and we are going to slip stitch into that space with the stitch marker. That's how we're going to connect it. So into the space with the stitch marker, slip stitch to join your block, and chain 3 to start your block. 1, 2, and 3. You can pop that stitch marker out, and into the space, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. So that's our last block of row 2. 2 blocks for row 2. So pop in a stitch marker, and we're just putting that stitch marker into that chain space right before our double crochets. Next is row 3, these blocks right here. So to start your row, we're going to do the same thing. We have to build one of those blocks. So we're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, pinch, 4, 5, and 6. So into that chain where we're pinching, or the 4th chain from your hook, we're going to make our first double crochet. So wrap your yarn and go into that chain, 2 strands on the top of your hook, and make 1 double crochet. And into each of the next 2 chains, we need to make a double crochet into each. So a double crochet right there, and a double crochet into this last chain right down there. So wrap your yarn and 1 double crochet into the next chain. And 1 double crochet into the last chain right on top of that block. So that's what it looks like. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to flip up our work. If you just let it hang underneath your hook and just lay it down, it'll stay the right way around. So we have what's on our hook, our loose block, and we have our little staircase that started. We want to take our staircase and flip it up. And then we want to rotate our loose block over, and we're going to slip stitch where that stitch marker is. Okay? So into where the stitch marker is, slip stitch to join your block. You can pop that stitch marker out. And chain 3 to start your block. 1, 2, and 3. And into the space, 3 double crochets right into that chain space. 1, 2, and 3. Into this next chain space, just pop your hook in, slip stitch to join your blocks, and chain 3 to get your height. 1, 2, 3. Into that chain space, 3 double crochets, just into the space. And there are our 3 blocks for row 3. So let's pop a stitch marker into that last chain space on our last block, right there. And now we have finished row 3, these blocks right there. For row 4, we're going to work across and make 4 blocks. So we're always starting the same way with our chain 6. We have to build a new block. So chain 6. 1, 2, 3, pinch. 1, 2, 3. Wrap your yarn and go into that chain where we're pinching. 2 strands on the top of your hook and make 1 double crochet. And then 1 double crochet into each of these 2 chains. So wrap your yarn and 1 double crochet into the next. Wrap your yarn and 1 double crochet into the last one, right down there. So if you just lay down your work, that is what it looks like. We're going to take our finished work, or the blocks we've already connected, our little staircase, and flip it up. Then we're going to slip stitch into that space where our stitch marker is. Just pop your hook in and slip stitch to join that new block. Take your stitch marker out. Chain 3. 1, 2, 3. That gives us our height. And now 3 double crochets into the space to build our block. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to slip stitch into that space on the top of our block. So we have like our little staircase going on, and we're building our blocks and connecting them into these chain spaces at the top of our blocks. So each block, we have to connect it to our staircase. So just slip stitch into that next space and chain 3 to get your height. 1, 2, and 3. And into that same chain space, we're going to build our block. So 3 double crochets to build our block. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to slip stitch into that space to join, just to connect that block to our staircase. So pop your hook in and slip stitch to join. Chain 3 to get your height. 1, 2, and 3. And into that space, 3 double crochets. Just to finish off our row. 2, and there is 3. So that is the last block of row 4. So grab your stitch marker and pop it into that chain space, just like that. And that finishes row 4. For row 5, we're going to do 5 blocks along our staircase. And this is when it's going to start making a little bit of sense to you. So to start our block, chain 6. 1, 2, 3, pinch. 4, 5, and 6. Wrap your yarn and into that 4th chain from your hook, right where we're pinching. 2 strands of that chain on the top of your hook, 1 double crochet, and 1 double crochet into each of those chains going down. So a total of 3 double crochets. There's number 2, and our last one goes right there, right on top of that last block with 1 double crochet. It looks like this. When you lay your work down, you have your block right by your hook. So you can just hold that block and flip up your work. And now we're going to join, slip stitch right into that chain space where our stitch marker is. So you can pop the stitch marker out and just slip stitch to join that block to your staircase. And now we are ready to do our stairs going all the way up. So chain 3 to get your height. 1, 2, 3, into the space, 3 double crochets. So blocks are always chain 3 and 3 double crochets. If I'm going too fast, just slow me down or speed me up. Just use that gear right there and adjust me. So now we're going to connect that block to the next step or the next stair right here, like a little staircase. So slip stitch to join and chain 3 to get your height for your new block. 2 and 3. Into the space, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And now we have to connect that block. So find the top of that next staircase, that next step. Pop your hook in and make a slip stitch into that space. Chain 3 to get your height. And 3 double crochets into that same space. 1, 2, and 3. Now we have to connect that block, so find the space on the top of that last block. Pop your hook in and slip stitch. That joins up our block, and now we need to get our height. So chain 3. At the end of your row, just remember you do have to build a block into this last space right here. We can't just join and turn or we'll have just a weird edge. So keep track to make sure that your edge is staying straight and that you have the same number of blocks as how many rows you're on. So we're on row 5. We need 5 blocks. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have to put in that last block for our 5. So that finishes row 5 with 5 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So pop that stitch marker into that last chain space we made. For row 6, we're doing 6 stairs. So our staircase is just growing, growing, growing. To start row 6, chain 6. 1, 2, 3, pinch it, 4, 5, and 6. Wrap your yarn and into the 4th chain from your hook, right where we're pinching. 1 double crochet. And 1 double crochet into each of those 2 chains, or each of the next 2 chains. So into the next chain, 1 double crochet. And into the last chain, 1 double crochet. Now you can just lay your work down, hold down that block that you just made, flip up your staircase. So now we're just going to rotate that block and slip stitch right into where that stitch marker is. So slip stitch to join. And chain 3 to get your height. 1, 2, and 3. You can pop that stitch marker out. And now we're going to build our blocks all the way up our staircase. So each of these spaces is going to get a new step, a new block, all the way along. And we're going to have a total of 6 blocks. So into this very first space, right where we joined, 3 double crochets. And then we have to connect it to our staircase. So slip stitch into the space of that next block. chain 3 to get your height, and then 3 double crochets into that space to build your block. Slip stitch into the top of the next stair to join your block. Chain 3 to get your height. 1, 2, and 3. And into that space, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to slip stitch to connect that block, just into the space of that next stair. Chain 3 to get your height. 1, 2, and 3. And into that space, 3 double crochets. At the end, you can just flip that last stair down and just pinch it so it doesn't get in your way. You don't snag it with your hook. Now you can flip that last one back up, and we're going to build our last block into our last stair, or last bit of the staircase. So connect it with a slip stitch. Get your height with a chain 3. And remember, we always have to build a block into this last space right here. We always have to finish with our yarn right on the edge. 3 double crochets into that last space. And there is our 6th row completed. So just pop a stitch marker into that space of the last block we made right there at the top. So at the end of your row, also just make sure that that edge is straight, that you have worked into that last block. To start row 7, we're going to build a block, same as we have been. So chain 6, 1, 2, 3, pinch, 4, 5, and 6. Wrap your yarn and into the 4th chain from your hook, 1 double crochet, and 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 chains. Our blocks are always a chain 3 and 3 double crochets. So there is our new block for our new row. So you can hold that new block down and flip up your staircase. And then just rotate that block in. We're going to slip stitch right where that stitch marker is. Just pop your hook in, and we're going to slip stitch to join to our staircase. Remove your stitch marker. And chain 3 to get your height. 1, 2, and 3. 3 double crochets into that space to build your next stair. Slip stitch to join your block to the staircase. And build your next block. Chain 3 and 3 double crochets into the space. Connect it to the next stair with a slip stitch. And build your next block, chain 3 and 3 double crochets. So each block is a chain 3 and 3 double crochets. And now you can see why people love C2C so much, because all the way along your row in these middle blocks, we're just working into spaces, so it's really fast once you get the hang of it. So connect with a slip stitch, chain 3 to get your height, and 3 double crochets to build your block. connecting it with a slip stitch. Remember, you can pause the video and get caught up. I know I'm speeding up a little bit. Chain 3 to get your height. 1, 2, 3, and 3 double crochets into that space. 1, 2, and 3. Slip stitch to join it to our last step on our staircase. At the end of your row, just make sure that you go into this last staircase. After you slip stitch, if there's a space, like if your slip stitch is not at the very end of your row, or if your hook is not at the very end of your row, you have to do this last stair, this last step. So chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 3 double crochets into the space to build your block. 1, 2, and 3. And now you can see my hook, or your hook also, is going to be at the end, at the very edge of your work. So just make sure your hook, your work, is at the very edge of your row before you build the next block and turn to come back. And you can also count your steps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we are on 7 rows. And you can also count your rows just by counting your blocks. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So the sides match going across like that. So you have finished row 7. So pause the video, keep working until one side is the skinniest side or the smallest side of whatever you're making. So when your triangle is the size you want it to be, after your last double crochet into your last step, your last block, we're just going to do a chain 1, cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later, pull your hook up and your yarn through, and snug that down to secure. And there is your C2C triangle. And then next, I'm going to show you how to decrease it into a square. So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I'm waiting for you in that video up there, and stay hooked.